Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Day 3 of the Season 2 Invitational here at SCGCon Winter, our final event of the 2018 SCG Tour, brought to you by the wonderful people over at Twitch, Ultimate Guard, and many others. Cedric Phillips, Todd Anderson.
What up?
Matthias Hunt.
Made it through the snow to get here, but now we're going to play some Magic.
The Turf. The
Gender Dome champion Ryan Overturf.
Thank you for
cutting
me
off. Is this not
up.
going to die ever?
Is it? Let it live.
This is.
Let it live.
Look, what dies feeds the tarmac.
Okay. Cut.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. No, leave it.
That's what it took.
We're rolling with it. Let's go.
Well, we have whittled this field down to 8 people, 2 of which, I'm going to say that again, 2 of which have top-aided 3 invitationals in a row, which is hard to do. This guy right here, who's won one, has top-aided 4, hasn't top-aided, I don't know if you've top-aided a bunch in a row or not. But
No, I've top-aided 2 in a row.
Okay. All right.
But I've never top-aided 3
and
in a row.
That's an impressive feat.
But
I
how
agree.
old were you when you got your 3rd one?
I mean, I didn't get my 3rd one for like another 2 or 3 years after that.
First one? Probably
Yeah,
23
like
or something?
24, 25.
Yeah.
I don't know. I won my first one. I'll say that.
Atlanta?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, I wasn't 16 years old.
Yeah. Like the first person that we're going to talk about here, our number 7 overall seed, that's Austin Collins, who's on your right, playing Ironworks against Justin Gebbing on your left, playing Is It Phoenix. This is our 2 versus 7 matchup. Justin's the 2, Austin's the 7, and 7 isn't that far from how old he is. He's 16.
Pretty close. 1 plus 6.
I wish I was this good at anything when I was 16. It's just unbelievable. Not only is he super good, he's playing the hardest deck in Modern, too, and he just knows how to do that already. And he is in what appears to be a pretty favorable matchup here, Todd. Obviously, Ross Merriam himself put this Is It Phoenix deck on the map. Justin's playing a deck list that is very similar to that list that he won with in Baltimore. And Austin's playing what appears to be basically the stock Ironworks list now. Now, earlier in the tournament, we watched Austin lose to Ross off of a poor attack. I think he'd admit to as much, and we watched it. Ross got a little lucky. Thanks to you, maybe, with the power of Todd Anderson.
Look, I just called him like a season.
Yeah,
okay?
you couldn't knock the deck from here.
I'm basically a walking predictive iPhone text. Okay? I just say, well, if he does this thing, this other thing could happen, and sometimes that thing happens.
Well, it certainly did in that match, that's for sure.
It was crazy. Yeah, the attack from Austin was a bit greedy, knocking Ross from 6 down to 5 when he's basically going to infinite him next turn.
Yeah.
Not really the smartest choice when you can hold back that Thopter. Make sure you don't die to a Faithless Looting Away 3rd Arclight Phoenix, or, God forbid, the 3rd and 4th Lightning Bolt plus the 2 Phoenixes already in the graveyard.
Yeah, a brutal loss to be sure there for Austin Collins. But you know what? Bounce back. That's something that a young player might crumble from. Not the case, Matthias. He obviously bounced back because he's in the top 8 again.
Look, Austin Collins has shown, first of all, the ability to learn a wide range of decks and to improve really fast. I mean, he's gotten here being just 16. So we look at something like that. Okay, is it Arclight? This is probably the one matchup he doesn't have very many reps in because the deck just kind of won a tournament last weekend. It's still pretty new. So the fact, maybe he doesn't have the gauge on how much damage it can do and how fast. But I'll tell you, after that round on day 1, he's got a lot better feel for it now, and that's going to help him in this top 8 match.
Well, Ryan, let's talk matchup here because I think this is a tough one here for Justin. He doesn't have a ton of interaction. We'll get to the sideboard in a bit, but obviously Justin's going to be on the play because he's number 2 overall seed against Austin, who's going to be on the draw. But even still, I don't like this for Justin very much at all.
Yeah, being on the play is an advantage. It means that if the game does boil down largely to a goldfish, he'll have the opportunity to have the first crack at it. The deck doesn't present too many turn 3 wins. It is possible. Turn 4 is tough. Obviously, Crackling Drake doesn't play into that at all. You're not going to be winning on turn 4 with your 4-mana spell. But turn 2, Thing in the Ice, followed by Manamorphose, 3 spells. If that involves a Faithless Looting, some Arclight Phoenix, you can really have some very fast wins with this deck. It requires specific things, though. So he's going to want to get lucky, but you got to win luck. You got to get lucky if you're going to win a tournament anyway.
That's true. I mean, it makes a good point, Matthias. That said, he does have to get, in my opinion, really lucky.
Right.
Really lucky.
So that's what kind of the strategy, if you're going to lay out what Justin Gebbing needs to do here, does involve gambling a bit. Going to have to get lucky on this. So on the post-board games, he can play some little more of a fair fight. But let's talk about those first 2 pre-board games where it's just Mikasia against Yeah, against cards like Crackling Drake. Okay, it's not going to do too much.
But they're both 4 mana.
Right. That's yeah. Right. That's one of the problems here in the first 2 games. So what he can do is he can actually change some of his gameplay. So he's got some cards that his deck is capable of some really explosive things when things land right. Now, it's not always the way you'd normally want to play. You know, these opt-style cards normally set you up to go off turn 3 or 4, and you can lead on those. But if I'm in his situation, I might just start leading on the Thought Scours and Faithless Lootings and thinking, if I can just hit some Arclights and I can hit my best draws, if he can steal one of the first 2 games, we may have a fight going on.
Now, Todd, obviously, you're someone who's done very well in these tournaments. You've won one of these things. I'm sure you've been in plenty of bad matchups over your career. Sometimes when you're in a bad matchup like Matthias is talking about, you got to try some stuff.
Okay, I like to treat bad matchups like a sealed deck tournament, okay?
Okay.
Your deck, you know, you're playing with the deck that you have in front of you. You can't change anything. Everything's locked in. Just use every piece of the Buffalo and just try to squeak it out.
Yep.
You know, if it takes getting super lucky and hitting quad Phoenix in the top 12 cards, you know, just Thought Scour yourself as quickly as possible and hope for the best.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it's that bad. I think that this matchup is quite bad for
Justin.
Yeah. And I think that it could boil down to a pure race, and he might just be a little bit too slow. Just go for the gusto. Just, you know, most of the time you want to wait for the Phoenix in your hand before you cast Faithless Looting. No. You ain't got no time.
Yeah,
you ain't got no interaction.
Yeah.
You ain't got no time.
Yeah, there's no time for that. That is for sure. I mean, we talk here about how things are difficult for Justin, and you know, one of the things that we were discussing pre-show was basically, well, Justin's on the play, so he might be able to steal it, but this Ironworks deck has a really interesting card in it called Mox Opal, which doesn't really care about player draw.
What do Moxes traditionally do?
Moxes, they
tap
can
for
play,
mana.
yeah, they tap for mana, kind of break the play draw rule a little bit. Has Ancient Stirrings for consistency. Sure, Ryan, Justin's got some decent sideboard cards, Ceremonious Rejection, stuff like that. But I think in order for him to have a chance here, he's probably got to at least split the first 2 games.
Yeah, and leaving both of the pre-sideboard games on the table is going to be a huge issue, especially because it means if you can pick up your first one, you have to win games on the draw post-sideboard. Might have to do that multiple times. That's going to be a huge issue for him. Ceremonious Rejections help. It's only 2 cards, but the main deck, yeah, exactly. He's got to pedal to the floor, try to get those Phoenixes fast, early and often. Probably not often, I guess, because you don't want the game to go long.
Sure.
Just early.
Yeah. And the Phoenix plan is where he's at, and I think Austin's smart enough to know that, and that's why Matthias, Sai might be a problem.
Sure. I mean, that is one of many problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can Sai make some blockers and stop an Arclight plan? Yep.
Yeah, I'm just...
Yeah, that's the end of the sentence.
There we go.
End of sentence.
Yep, that's going to be an issue.
Yep.
And I just think, Todd, it's all issues here. Again, it's not impossible. It's Magic, right? Austin can mulligan to 5 a couple of times, even though this deck does...
Yes, he can.
Even though this deck does just cantrip and have stirrings and everything, so that seems unlikely, but it's not impossible, I guess.
I mean, that's kind of the problem with the Ironworks, the deck, is that no matter what you do to it, no matter how many times it mulligans, everything cycles. You know, oh, I hit your Thoughtseize, I took away your freaking Ironworks. Yeah, who cares? I'll just draw 5 cards in the next turn and a half.
Yep.
And find it again.
Yep.
And I mean,
buried, ruin it back.
Yeah,
right?
it's just insanely consistent in what the deck does. The same thing every game. It's super explosive and it fights through hate. And that's really the problem with the strategy, in my opinion, and why it's possible that it's a little too good for Modern. Maybe.
I mean, look, Matt Nass dominated this year with it. Zach Elsick got 2nd place before he ran into Aaron Barrich at our last Invitational, where he got the Buzzsaw from Infect, one of the few decks that absolutely annihilates it. I don't think we're.
I love watching Infect beat people playing Ironworks.
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining. That was one of the least close matches I've ever seen, certainly in the finals of a tournament. But I think it might be the other way around this time. I'm picking Austin Collins, 16, really good at Magic, made a mistake early in the tournament that was detrimental. Don't expect him to make the same mistake again. And has access to exactly every card Justin's playing, because players have access to each other's deck list. Justin, I'll give you a game. I can't see you getting more than that, though.
I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I'm going to actually think that Austin Collins is going to win 3-0.
Okay.
I'm calling it now. I think the pre-board games are particularly bad for Justin, but after sideboard, it's not like it gets that much better. He has effectively 3 means of interaction to keep the Ironworks off the battlefield. And he has 3 copies of a Braid to smoosh it once it hits the battlefield. But that doesn't work.
Oh, no, that's nonsense.
Ancient Grudge is not good against this deck.
Yeah,
So a Braid's not going to do anything. So I have Austin winning in 3.
Matthias?
I think I'll give Gebling a post-board game. He's got
Okay.
some Ceremonious Rejections, and he's going to be on the play for some of those games.
Most of those games.
maybe all of those games. Or maybe all one of them. Yeah. You know? But I think he can get one. But Austin Collins, he's going to take the match.
Is it a sweeper, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm calling for an upset.
No.
Like to gamble.
What?
Give me Justin
Is that graphic right?
Do you
Yeah.
enjoy being wrong?
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of my
Makes
two
perfect
favorite
sense.
things.
no.
My
Makes
two
perfect
favorite
sense.
things are being right and being wrong. It's in second place, but I still like it a lot.
Well, Nick's on the Austin.
all right.
Boy, you are really going contrarian on this one.
Yeah, you got me up early in the morning, so I'm going to fire some off here.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We're going to move on to our next match here. It's our 3 versus 6. It is Evan Whitehouse, who, this is kind of interesting. For Evan, he got second place at SCG Vegas with his teammate Zach Keeney, who's also in the top 8 of this tournament on the other side of the bracket. He played Band Spirits then. He switched to Dredge now, and he might be hoisted by his own Bedard here in Danny Jessup, or as I like to call him, Mr. Copy Paste.
Old copy pasta.
Yeah, copy paste here, Danny J. We love you here, Danny J, in the booth, because you keep it real simple. Whatever's the best thing going on, you're going to do that in whatever format you're playing. It appears the best thing going on in Modern, at least one of them, is Band Spirits. Bang, got to do that. Best thing going on in Standard is whatever your brother's playing. Got to do that.
Yeah.
And get a sideboard guide from him and do pretty well. And he's in the top 8 with Andrew, by the way. We'll get to him. I'm going to start with Ryan, bring it back down this way. Dredge v. Band Spirits. I'm not feeling great for Evan here, but the first 2 games are without the sideboard, so that's a bonus for Evan. And he's on the play.
Yeah, I think that those are both huge advantages for Dredge. And when you talk about hating Dredge out, sure, Dan has Rest in Peace, but we have 3 sideboard games even then. You're only on the play for some of those, and Rest in Peace is too slow, even on the play sometimes. It costs 2 mana. You need Leyline of the Void, you need Grafdigger's Cage, you need 1 mana, 0 mana stuff to actually disrupt this Dredge deck in a lot of the games. Dredge is extremely powerful right now, so you need one of 2 things, either extremely powerful hate, which Rest in Peace technically is, but it's a little slow, or you need a fast clock. Spirits does not have a terribly fast clock. I actually do like the Dredge side of this matchup quite a lot.
Matthias, I'll come to you. I mean, Ryan does make a pretty good point. Some of the reasons to play Spirits, right? You've got these tricks with Spell Queller, and you've got Collected Company, and people can run into mistakes. Well, that Spell Queller is a 3-mana spell. Collected Company is a 4-mana spell, and Vial's a little slow. And this isn't Humans where they can just kind of run you down, right? Big champion, push you some damage, Mantis Rider in the air. It is a slower clock. You do have better sideboard cards, of course. We'll get to more of that as we go on this matchup, but these first couple of games do seem to favor Evan, and Dredge can get one of the 3 sideboard games, right?
Yeah, this is the matchup in the top 8 that I'm one of the ones I'm more excited about seeing. I think this one's actually going to be pretty close. There are a lot of ways that Dredge can interact here. I mean, there's only, like, if Dredge is on the play and they have a turn 2 Cathartic Reunion, they do great things, and Spirits has 4 cards that interact with that. They're copies of Mausoleum Wanderer. If they draw one, great. But if they don't, I'm not sure I like Spirits too much in that individual game. And is that going to, best of 5, is that going to play out? Yeah, absolutely. Could they get a bunch of creeping chills and suddenly have the game kind of become a damage race? I think there's a lot of ways that Dredge gets ahead. If Dredge doesn't hit any of those, then yeah, I think if it goes absolutely just on curve, Phantom is a bit of a favorite, but these are going to be some interesting games.
And what's actually kind of interesting, too, about this, Todd, and just the pre-board games, then we'll get to the sideboard games, is even stuff like, I believe that Spirits kind of struggles with, like, Prize Amalgam coming early. Bloodghast they can manage, but they do have to trade a threat, or Supreme Phantom is a 1-3 versus a 2-1, so that's okay. But, like, if there's 2 Prize Amalgams that kind of come back on turn 2, it's like, okay, that's annoying, and they're going to be doing other things, working towards a large conflagrate, obviously Creeping Chills, things like that. I think it is imperative for Evan to win the first 2 games. For him to win the match.
I don't think it's imperative that he wins the first 2 games to win the match. It's not like Danny Jessup's going to draw 2 recipes after sideboard every single game.
Okay, that's true.
So, I mean, I think that this, I don't know which side you're on exactly, but I have Evan winning by a landslide. I think that this matchup was particularly bad for Band Spirits, and it got specifically worse because of the card Creeping Chill. Before, they could race. They could put Drogskull Captain on the battlefield, give all their creatures hexproof, so Conflagrate couldn't kill them, right? But then now, like, Creeping Chill just buys you that extra turn, so you can just go straight up top to the Domski with the Conflagrate and finish it off and buy yourself enough time to not die to all the flyers coming across in the air. I think that the Dredge deck being on the play is a huge issue in at least 3 of the 5 games. Is going to be on the play if he's losing.
Yep,
they get to game 5.
Yep.
And I think that that's just going to hugely favor Evan.
That makes some sense. So let's talk about the sideboard. Ryan, I'm going to start with you and come back down again. rest in peace we know. And I think, Todd, you actually make a really good point. There is no guarantee that Danny will draw this card every game. It's, in a way, it feels like he almost kind of has mulligan to it. Now, I picked Danny. We'll get to that in a minute, obviously. And I'm kind of regretting that pick now because I was very focused on the fact that Rest in Peace is a thing here, but 2 pre-sideboarded games, and they don't appear to be particularly good. Perhaps if, I mean, the Mausoleum Wanderer situation you make is a very good point, but these sideboarded games, it's almost like Danny has to maybe mulligan for Rest in Peace. Maybe that's a bit hyperbolic. I don't know how you feel.
Well, there's a more subtle thing in what Todd said about the Rest in Peace as well. He said Dan's not going to always trying to draw 2 Rest in Peace. Now, that might just mean you're drawing 1 or 2, but sometimes it means the Dredge player just destroys your first Rest in Peace. That's part of their sideboard plan. They're always trying to Nature's Claim. If you have enchantment-based graveyard hate, you can reset your graveyard from there and start going off. You need to have a Rest in Peace hand that actually has closing speed if you're going to beat Dredge. If you're mulliganing to it, you might just lose to them answering it, or you might just lose to them casting Bloodgas if you mulligan off too much action.
It's true. You could just get traditionally beat down, Matthias. I'm regretting my pick. All right. I'm trying to figure out how Danny wins now.
All right. Well, Danny, how he wins is he draws some interaction.
Okay.
If both extras do their own thing, I get, Evan's going to be a favorite. And post board, it will be easier for Danny to draw interaction. He does, he does improve. He improves more after sideboarding than Evan actually improves. So things will be closer. If they, I don't think either player has to win either of the first 2 games. These matchups, games will still be close enough that, you could see a 2-0, 3-0 comeback. If you see a comeback from down 2, I think that could happen. But yeah, if Danny draws some interaction, gets some pressure, there are ways he can win these.
I suppose it's worth mentioning too that of the 2 players, I think Evan's deck mulligans more, so his average starting hand size might be a little bit less, where Danny's might not be, but at the same time, Danny is kind of looking for some particular things as well, so maybe his average starting hand is 6 or something like that. I don't know. As I think about this a little bit more, it does seem like it's kind of difficult for Danny. Maybe it's actually Danny that needs to win a pre-board game,
Absolutely.
not Evan, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I think Dredge is hugely favored in pre-board games. Naturally, their deck is just super fast most of the time, and they don't really play traditional Magic, and so the opponents usually have a really tough time interacting with them based on their speed and consistency. So Dredge is, after sideboard though, Dredge usually has to play this guessing game where they figure out, try to guess what hate cards are going to be played against them, whether it's hand-based like Surgical Extraction, or whether it's going to be on the battlefield, where there's going to be a one-shot or a permanent thing, Rest in Peace versus Relic of Progenitus, Tormod's Crypt. And, if they, sometimes, when I play Dredge, I just don't board anything.
Sure, same 60 as Patrick.
Yeah, just hope for the best. Hope that it's surgical, and I'm not gonna board in a bunch of dead Nature's Claims and board out these cards that are integral to my strategy. And that's just not going to be the case though in these 3 post-board games. We have deckless. We're gonna know exactly how to sideboard, and he's gonna get help from one of the best players in the room, his brother Andrew Jessup.
True.
So I'm not counting him out by any means necessary, but I think it's going to be a tough road.
I think it's going to be a tough road, too, for Danny J. Mr. Copy Paste himself. I picked him to win. I'm not sure I should have done that, but I did do that. And draw those Rest in Peace, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty important. Probably 2, like Todd said.
Yeah. I'm going with Evan Whitehouse. I think Dredge is just a super powerful strategy. I think it preys on these creature-based decks. I think, humans, spirits, these matchups are pretty easy for them, and I think it's going to be a really tough battle, and I think Dan has to get pretty lucky drawing those sideboard card Rest in Pieces.
Matthias, for you?
On paper, I think Evan's a slight favorite, but we are a best-of-5 match where players get the deck list, and they get to sleep on it, and they get to prepare. And those kind of events, I think teams matter. And when it comes to teams, Dan Jessup has one of the best teams when it comes to prepare for things. And that, I'm going to say he's going to get it in 5. I think it's going to be close, though.
He's got Baby Bro on his side, Ryan. Do you pick against the team of Andrew Jessup and Danny Jessup?
Does Andrew Jessup have particular strategies that involve having Rest in Peace in your opening hand, or what? What is this team collaboration we're even talking about? Give me Evan Whitehouse.
We'll see how Nick feels on this one. Nick is going to make it Evan Whitehouse favorite here, 3-2. We'll see how things go there for Evan and Danny. As we take a short break here from Roanoke, Virginia, we come back. We got to talk about our 1 versus 8 and our 4 versus 5. That's Marshall Arthurs and Andrew Jessup, and then Zach Keeney and Gerard Fabiano. So we'll talk about those 2 matchups here from our pregame show in just a bit. We are back. Cedric Phillips, Todd Anderson, Matthias Hunt, and Ryan Overturf here doing a pregame show for the top 8 of our Season 2 Invitational, the final event of the 2018 SCG Tour here at SCGCon Winter. I already talked about our 2 versus 7 and our 3 versus 6, so on to the 4 and 5 we go. Number 4, on Zach Keeney against number 5, Gerard Fabiano. Fabiano, much like Austin Collins, top 8ing his 3rd Invitational in a row for Zach Keeney. This is his first top 8, but I think this might be territory where we see him quite a bit. We watched him top 8 Vegas alongside his teammate and fellow top 8 competitor Evan Whitehouse. With Selesnya Tokens, he was in the standard seat. He wrote an article for Star City Games this week on the select side. Basically said, I think Selesnya Tokens is a great deck to be playing right now. He went undefeated with Selesnya Tokens in standard.
Nice.
Evan Whitehouse did the same thing.
Maybe Tokens is good.
Zach kid might be pretty smart,
No.
but the top 8's not standard. It's modern, where he played Storm, but he's still in the top 8, folks. He's going to go against Fabiano, who's playing Jund. Now, discard strategy.
Yep.
Removal strategy against your Barals and Electromancers. And kind of a fast clock with Tarmogoyf, sometimes Dark Confidence, stuff like that. This seems like it'd be good for Fabiano. You agree or disagree?
I disagree.
Okay.
Mostly, I think Jund has the tools to get the job done, but a prepared Storm opponent is favored as long as they gave themselves the right tools. I think 4 copies of Pieces of the Puzzle out of the sideboard is going to be a huge boost here, and it's going to give them a leg up. Okay.
Matthias, for you, I know you like a combo deck, of course. And
I do.
Discard can be problematic.
Discard can be problematic. A fast clock can be problematic. Jund is as far as fair decks go, I always feel like I should beat it more than I actually do. So yeah, I think this is a pretty close matchup between the two. Now, as it is you always know in our top 8s, when you got a 3-color deck and Gerard's playing it, there's going to be about 7 cards in it you didn't expect, and they're always like cost a little too much mana but do something splashy.
Yep.
They all say you can't mulligan if this card's in your opening hand.
I mean, that's just like how all of the cards are already in his deck. But, you know, so it's like, oh, we've got like a main deck Kalatas, and he has a few things like that. I don't really like any of them in this matchup, you know, so he gets some extra value against fair decks.
Yep.
I'd like, the boring cards in his deck are going to be his best weapons.
And hopefully he draws quite a few of them, Ryan. I do think that, I don't know, whenever I see a deck that has Inquisition and Thoughtseize, not that that's the end-all, be-all against Storm, because Storm has a lot of cantrips and gifts and given they can top deck and go from there. But, we've seen starts like this before from JD plenty, and you are the Junderdome champion, so
That's
you
true.
must be picking Jund.
Well, speaking as the Junderdome champion, I will say that Storm specifically is a combo deck that is not particularly vulnerable to discard spells. It is if they're combined with pressure, and in a lot of games you have to also have graveyard hate. You can't pick up out their hand if you're not going to beat them because they have a ton of redraws. They have gifts ungiven. They have Past in Flames. They don't need a full hand to go off from those positions. One thing that Jund does that is very important is it has a lot of spot removal for the mana creatures. Having Lightning Bolt for Baral is going to swing a lot of games, provided that you also have Tarmogoyf to apply enough pressure to actually close.
Sure, that makes sense.
All right, Ryan, would you agree that Nihil Spellbomb is a pretty good card against most iterations of Storm out of a Jund player sideboard?
I would agree.
Would you also say that maybe the Jund player could be potentially favored if there were 3 Nihil Spellbombs in the main deck?
3 spell bombs would
Gerard
definitely be
Fabiano,
beneficial.
who has 3 Nihil Spellbombs in his main deck, is a crazy person. He's just bananas.
But it cantrips.
It does cantrip. No, it's very good. No, and I when I first saw his deck list, I was just like, really? But then I was like, wait, people play Relic of Virginitas all the time in various strategies.
Yeah,
and
so why is it weird here?
Yeah, and it shouldn't be because it also pumps Tarmogoyf, which is a huge deal, and it gives you some game against decks that you might not normally be favored against.
Yeah.
It's weird because there's only 1 Fatal Push in the deck, so like there's parts on the deck list that's kind of weird, but it might all benefit him here, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if you're coming into this tournament and you're... I mean, Fatal Push is obviously a fantastic Magic card, but maybe you just don't think it's particularly well positioned. I don't necessarily disagree with that.
Look at this top 8.
Yeah, this is not a great Fatal Push top 8, to be sure. I mean, we haven't gotten to the other Arclight Phoenix deck here. It kills Swift Spirit and it kills Arclight Phoenix in some situations and doesn't touch Bedlam Ruffler, right? So I actually kind of like the idea behind 1 Fatal Push where many people would consider it to be a 3, potentially 4 if in certain metagames. I'm fine with that, but I think the point you just made here is Gerard, in a way, is pre-sideboarded for this matchup. And so we're talking about not 3 games of Nihil Spellbomb. We're talking about 5 games of Nihil Spellbomb. And I think that's what might make all the difference here in combination with discard. Liliana the Veil, obviously, haven't even mentioned that card just yet, and Tarmogoyf. Now, I do think it's important that he goes discard spell into 2-drop.
Yes.
Be it Dark Confidant
Absolutely.
or Tarmogoyf. But if he's able to have those starts and all these main deck Nihil spell bombs, look, I'm going to take Gerard. I'm sorry. I'm going to do that. And yeah, his deck building is a little wonky, sure, but it's hard for me to pick against Gerard, man. I got to say. And that's my pick to win this match.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue in this scenario, especially because Gerard does have 3 copies of Nihil Spellbomb. But honestly, I'm going to go with Zach Heaney. He hasn't lost very much this weekend.
No, he hasn't.
And Storm just has this way of beating you out of places where you just didn't think it was possible. Oh, we peeled a Baral, and then we have Manamorphose, and we drew another Manamorphose, and all of a sudden we have a Ritual off the top, and then we just can pass in Flames and kill you.
Yeah.
It just happens all the time. It's crazy. Now, Gerard does have a lot of ways to interact with the Storm combo, specifically Pass in Flames via Nihil Spellbomb.
Yep.
He can put a clock, but if he doesn't put the clock, all the disruption in the world doesn't matter.
Matthias, over to you.
Look, I think the Storm deck is traditionally a slight favorite against Jund, but not very much of a favorite. And when Gerard happens to be pre-boarded for the matchup, I'm no longer confident in my combo matchup against a Jund deck. And for this reason, I know these are the kind of decks that Gerard's been playing for 20-odd years. And for that, I'm going to pick him.
Yeah, Gerard has 55 Pro Tours and 3 straight open top 8s, or excuse me, invitational top 8s. At some point, maybe, this might be hyperbolic. Look, at some point we got to stop calling the deck building wonky, right?
It's just,
Do we?
It's just Gerard deck building.
It's just Gerard deck building.
That's-
Like, it works.
Okay, I just want to point.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, like people used to a long time ago used to be like, classic Guillaume Waffle top of control deck.
Yep.
And now it's like, no, that's the control deck.
Yeah, that's how you're supposed to build the
Yeah.
deck. Yeah.
And the problem with Gerard's deck building is that it's not like everyone knows how he's going to do it, because he just has these off the wall ideas that just all seem to come to fruition and put him in the top 8 into the finals even of a lot of the tournaments he plays. It's crazy.
And there's no question he can play the games, Ryan.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
we
certainly.
know that.
Well, he didn't invent main deck Nihil Spellbomb. We've seen Reed Duke and JD and Clumperons do it, albeit in much tamer numbers, reasonable numbers, one copy, sometimes 2.
Yes.
And the Spellbomb helps, but the Storm doesn't always have to use the graveyard. In Game 1, it's tougher to go out of hand, but Manamorphose Baral is a heck of a combination. You have a lot of cantrips that you go from there. I still just like the Storm side of things. I'm picking Keeney.
It's 2-2. Miller time. 3-2. Keeney, take it down. He's having a heck of a weekend, too. This kid's good. This kid's good. I think we're going to see more of him. I love the called shot with Selesnya tokens, because when we did our pregame show for Standard, we talked about Golgari, we talked about Jeskai, we talked about Is It Drakes, and we talked about Boris Aggro a little bit. We didn't even take a moment to talk about Selesnya tokens, and he smooshed it. And he beat Brad.
Yes, he did.
That's real,
He took Brad to task.
Yeah, he beat Brad basically playing for top 8. That's not an easy thing to do in any tournament, but when in a pressure situation like that, he played some good magic. So congratulations to Zach Keeney, no matter how he finishes in his quarterfinal match. All right, last one, best one. Ohio versus everything. That's where Marshall Arthurs is from. He is a Northeast Ohio native, so I'm naturally a fan. He's number 1 overall seed, and he won SCG Louisville earlier this year with Mardu Pyromancer. This is kind of an evolution of Mardu Pyromancer, one could argue, here in Mono Red Phoenix, up against Andrew Jessup, number 8 overall seed with Ironworks, hashtag the better Jessup, at least that's his Twitter name, and also Danny doesn't argue, so there is that. Andrew is having another great tournament. He came in here 8-0, kind of struggled a little bit to make it into the top 8, but he got there, and now that he's here, he might have a really good matchup, Brian.
Yep.
Yep. No elaboration. Just you're right.
I picked Marshall because Ohio, but that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stop giving away your pick'ems. We're not even at that point
Doesn't
yet.
matter.
Yeah. Slayer roll. The day is young.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get there. Now, we talked previously about Ironworks versus Is It Drakes. The mono red approach is going to be different. It's going to have less help from the sideboard, but it's going to have more help from Lava Spike. You get a little bit more on the turn 3 win kind of front with this build of the deck.
Sure.
Though you're doing it with only red cantrips. It's harder to find your Phoenixes. That's a huge strike against the deck.
The cantrips here: Faithless Looting 4 copies, Manamorphose 4 copies, Tormenting Voice 4 copies, a little bit of Desperate Ritual action, which, all right. So this deck, this Mono Red Phoenix deck, it's been picking up a Magic line. It got second place in the hands of Jeffrey Carr in Baltimore last weekend. There's some slight cosmetic changes here, but the game plan's still the same. There is Lava Spike and Fiery Temper and Lightning Bolt, so this is a burn Phoenix deck here. Matthias even's got a Flame Jab and a couple of gut shots.
Well, I don't miss any of the blue cards out of the Is It build. We're losing Thing in the Ice, Crackling Drake, and Opt. I mean, Okay, I didn't really like any of those in the matchup. So, yeah, maybe he's getting some cards which I'm not hugely excited about. Like, okay, we have some extra gut shots, might have a Tormenting Voice. Lava Spike seems great. So, yeah, it's probably still a favorable matchup, kind of similar to the one we talked about earlier. But in that sense, I think it's closer. Martial Arthurs, again, is on the play. And also, remember, this is someone who's won opens with Mardu Pyromancer. And just, this is a style of deck that he is very comfortable with.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that, to be sure, Matthias. It's another speed matchup, right? Just like the Izzet one as well.
Yes.
Bedlam Reveler is kind of an bleh in this spot. Like if you have the opportunity to play Bedlam Reveler and then like you draw into some burn spell, sure. I don't. Bedlam Reveler reminds me of Crackling Drake in this matchup. It's just non-starter.
I disagree to an extent. This deck is way more explosive. It plays its hand out pretty quickly. There's a reason why it's playing Rituals, for example. It's trying to have these large turns with early Monastery Swift Spears, and it takes advantage of Bedlam Reveler on turn 3. And on the play, a turn 3 Bedlam Reveler can translate into turn 4 a ton of damage, whereas Crackling Drake can never come down before turn 4 out of the Izzet Drake's deck. I still think that Andrew Jessup is favored because there is less interaction after sideboard. This is going to be much more of a pure race, and I think Marshall has a slightly better chance to win his matchup than Justin Gebbing does in his quarterfinal matchup. But I still think I'm going to lean on Andrew Jessup to take it down.
Yeah, what I think is interesting here, and I think you make a really good point, is that as far as stealing the matchup goes, I do think that Marshall actually has the ability to steal the matchup just because he can just burn the opponent out.
Yep.
Right, and that's a very real thing. You've got Fiery Tempers, Lightning Bolts.
I never beat a Lava Spike in my life.
Yeah.
It don't matter what you play. You can just die.
Yeah, I mean, this is true. The one thing I kind of wish Marshall had in his sideboard is something like Eidolon of the Great Revolt. He doesn't have access to that. He's got some Blood Moons here, 3 of those, 3 Tormod Scripts, which I don't love because Ironworks doesn't really care. And then 3 Circle Extractions, which again, I don't love because generally Ironworks doesn't care. So it's going to have to be a race. It's going to have to be something like Swift Spear into, you know, Manamorphose, Faithless Looting, discarding an Arclight Phoenix and Lightning Bolt. But that's a hell of a turn, Matthias.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He's not going to get much relief from the sideboard. He has Graveyard Hate, but it's really the wrong kind for this matchup. You know, Leyline of the Void, and we'd be talking about something different. But these one-shot ones aren't going to do much. But he does have some high velocity cards. You know, the Rituals always look weird in this fair red deck, but I want to draw them in this matchup. This is where this is why I registered him.
Yeah, this is the matchup to do it. I haven't talked to Marshall. Don't know if he's actually playing against Ironworks or not. Here's one thing you do know though, Ryan. You're not playing against a slouch here. Either Ironworks player is a very good one. Andrew Jessup has the more detailed resume than Austin Collins does, though obviously Austin is building a heck of a resume at such a young age. So Marshall, and the thing here, Marshall, it's not really a skill testing matchup. What are the top 10 cards? What are the top 12 cards in my deck? Do I have it? Do I not? And that's fine, but that's all part of it. And much like what you guys said about the Izzet Drakes versus this versus Ironworks, you just kind of got to go for it, right? Like Faithless Looting turn 1, and like it's not a setup thing. It's just like Tormenting Voice, come on. Faithless Looting, come on. I got to find this, do this sort of thing. Probably has to mulligan pretty aggressively too.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Thing about it though, when you just have to go, firing off a Thought Scour doesn't cost you too much. You're not employing a fail rate of your deck. Casting a Faithless Looting that doesn't do anything does put you down a card. Yep. And you're also playing a Lava Spike deck. Every card economy is a thing that is going to impact how you're able to play the game. Of course, Jessup's just going to beat you. You give enough time, so it doesn't matter as much, but even still, you do have less access to your Phoenixes. The Lava Spikes, the Swift Spears, that adds another element. You can be fast enough. You did say that play skill isn't a huge factor. It's largely a race, so counter to that is that you do have to know what your go turn is. The Ironworks deck sometimes plays an Ironworks, has to go for it or not. You're not going to see Andrew aggressively sacrifice artifacts he doesn't need to. You are going to see him go for an aggressive line to win if he knows he's going to lose in the next turn.
Good point.
Both of these decks are caring about Goldfish speed, and the interesting thing about both these decks when they combo, unlike something a lot of other decks, is that when they start their combo turns, they don't know how they're going to finish.
That's true.
Both of them, right?
Yeah.
So like, you know, the Ironworks player doesn't always know if he's comboing off, and same with the guy who's firing off Faithless Lootings, like ritualing pre-Faithless Looting. So because of that, right? So
you ain't wrong.
So both of them have to look at the board and know this and figure out, you know, what do I need to have happen here? And so yeah, you're right. They're not interacting too much, but as far as the decisions they're making, there's a lot going on here.
Okay, that's a really good point. When you are ritualing pre everything, and it's like I gotta have I don't know.
I'll need some more mana if I draw a good card.
Yeah,
Better do
no,
this.
yeah, absolutely. I guess the nice thing is for Manamorphose, you don't have to choose what color's the name. That's nice. Red.
Easy.
Yes, red.
Yeah, can we not get like all 5 of the mana signifiers out onto the battlefield?
No, they're just all
during the
red.
match, just red.
all red ones.
Just red.
Yeah.
Just one red one.
Red. I mean, that's a decision that almost cost Ross Merriam last weekend against Jeffrey Carr in the finals. Fortunately for Ross, it worked out. For Marshall, he has less decisions to make in that regard. I'm going with Marshall Arthur's number 1 overall seed. Option on the play, obviously. Ohio native, so I'm going to go with fellow Buckeye. And I don't know, he's a pretty good Modern player. I talked to him this weekend, too, and he's like, Modern, that's a format he plays a lot of Magic Online, stuff like that. And he's like, I don't play any Standard, so I'm just hoping to kind of run well there. And he ran good enough. And I think I talked to you, like, you're a big fan of this deck.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this might be secretly the best deck in the format. I just don't think it is particularly good against Card Clan Ironworks.
Sure.
But it has the explosive nature and the overall raw power to be able to beat Ironworks with a little bit of luck on its side. But I'm going to pick Andrew Jessup. I think the Ironworks deck is a little more consistent, a little bit faster, and I just really want to see Andrew take it down.
Fair enough. Matthias, heading to you.
Marshall Arthur's deck's pretty good this weekend, but it's just not good in this top 8. We got a lot of Storm, we got a lot of Card Clan Ironworks, and it's a strong enough deck that it can win, but it's just not the favorite. And Andrew Jessup is not the kind of person you want to have to pull off the upset against.
Gunderdome champion to you.
So I've been rooting for Andrew Jessup to win this tournament since the beginning of day 2. And, I'm not going to give up on him now. I want that with Jessup.
Well, the way to stick to your guns there. To Nick Miller here, very quickly. I'm flying solo. That's right. Ohio versus everything, baby. Let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
With that, we make our final picks for who's going to win this tournament. I'm not going to sway. I love where I'm from.
I'm going to go change my tie and shirt.
I'm not going to sway. I know where I'm from. Oh, Marshall, do it for me one time. Let's see. If Marshall beats Andrew, then he'd have to play against, I picked Gerard.
Storm or Jund. And, I mean, that's a coin flip to me.
I think he can beat Jund.
Anyway, I think he can beat Jund also very easily. I think that Storm is his nightmare matchup.
Okay. And then Dredge, maybe? In the finals?
I think he actually might be favored against Dredge, which is crazy.
Yeah,
like, the deck is just explosive. A lot of your threats fly, and you have direct damage to close out games. Now, if a lot of Creeping Chills come off...
Yeah, dead. Yeah, dead. You're dead. Hey, there's an avenue here, Marshall. Bring it back home to Ohio for me.
He also has a lot of graveyard removal for the Dredge deck.
Oh, he's got Crypts and Surgical.
3 Taurus Crypts and 3 Surgical.
Heck yeah, we just gotta get by Andrew J. We can do this.
Andy J.
Let's run pretty good. Andrew, take some mulligans. Ohio, let's go.
All right, I forgot who I picked to win.
They've got a graphic.
Oh yeah,
Bang.
Andrew Jessup.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I was rooting for him to win. That's why subconsciously. Okay.
I see.
I mean, I think so. If we're talking about if he gets out against Marshall, he has to either play a Goldfish matchup against Zach Keeney playing Storm, or he has to play against Jund. I think he's hugely favored against Jund.
Oh yeah.
And but the 3 Knowledge Ball Bombs could come into play in disrupting the combo along with pressure and stuff. Outside of that, I mean, I just really want Andrew Jessup to win. I think he's the best player in the top 8. He's secretly just way better than me.
I mean, he's really good.
It's not a secret.
Yeah.
He's just way better than
really,
me.
really good.
Every time I watch him play, I'm jealous.
Matthias, for you.
For the 3rd morning in a row, you're going to ask me the question of who's going to win the invitation.
All right, you're
for
not
the 3rd
gonna-
morning, I am going to answer Austin Collins.
Wow, nice.
Matthias sticking to his young gun. He's really good.
So the secret strategy of these pick'ems is if we're at an invitational, you just pick Austin Collins.
Oh, that's the trick?
Yeah. I mean,
I guess it's
like,
worked for the past
what
3.
I mean, okay, so he has got 3, but what do you even think the denominator is on this? Like 3 out of
It's like
4?
Yeah, probably like 4.
He's not-
maybe
he's
3.
Yeah, maybe
it's probably right.
He's not
like,
old enough
okay,
to have played
strategy
more
keeps
invitationals than
working.
that.
I don't know why no one else is playing it. Like,
Actually,
Always pick Rock.
I'm actually pretty interested in how many he's played it. It can't be more than 5.
I mean, Nick
right.
can look that up pretty quick.
At worst case, it's 60%.
Yeah.
Best case, it's 100.
Yeah. That's a good argument, Ryan. Well, you're Andrew.
I made a pretty definitive statement mere moments ago. Don't think I need to repeat myself.
Well, Andrew Jessup it is. Miller time. Bring us home. Yep. The young blood. Now I got to find out. How many it's taught. That's a really good point. If it's like 3, if it's like 75%.
No, if it's
that's
3 for 3.
nuts.
What if it's just 3 for 3?
Similarly nuts.
That's not even that weird. It could be 3.
It could be
Yeah.
3
could
for
very easily be
3.
3 for 3.
Yeah, it stands 3s, and that could be the case. Man, we could be looking at like. Remember when we were like, who's the kid from New Zealand?
Aaron Nicastri?
No, he's from Australia. It was like Cole Swanwick. I think you guys remember him. He was just like some young kid from New Zealand who was really good, played in Pro Tours and stuff like that. And we see some young upstarts like Julian from the Netherlands was young and like was the world champion.
Can't say the last name.
Newton?
Yes,
Yeah, like Newton or whatever. He just topped me at the Grand Prix actually a couple weeks ago. Like so, we've seen young kids be good. Gadiel.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right, he
sure,
was really Pro
sure.
Tour champion, beat Kenji Samura in the finals. Like we've seen kids be good at a young age. Like this. If it's 3 out of 3, like that's nuts. That's nuts. I should have picked Austin Collins. Go get him, Marshall. We take a break here. We're gonna get ready for our first round of competition. We are going to be watching. It looks like Danny Jessup and Evan Whitehouse. So hope you guys enjoyed the pregame show and our picks. We are gonna work towards crowning a champion. Someone's walking out for $20,000. Invite to Pro Tour Cleveland. Likeness on a card. Playmat, entry and buys into classics and opens and a whole bunch more. It's going to be a lot of fun watching it online. This guy's won one. We're going to see who wins this one here from SCGCon Winter.